Over the last few weeks, I've made quite a few videos talking about language learning. The methods I use, the things I've learned, or how my approach has changed over time. But today I want to do something a little different. Instead of talking about language learning, I thought I would simply show you what I actually read this week. Because reading has become one of the biggest parts of my language learning. So let's have a look. Let's start with Spanish. This week I continued reading Un Mal Principio, which is the Spanish version of The Bad Beginning, the first book in a series of unfortunate events. One reason I chose this book is because I already know the story from reading it in English. That means I don't have to focus on figuring out what's happening. Instead, I can focus much more on the Spanish itself. At the beginning of the week, I had just finished chapter 4. By now I've finished chapter 9, so I'm getting pretty close to finishing the whole book. One thing I continue to enjoy is that I no longer feel like I have to understand every single word. If I come across something I don't know, I usually just keep reading. Most of the time, the surrounding sentences give me enough context to understand what's happening. And if they don't, that's okay too. For me, reading has become much more about enjoying the story than translating every sentence. Japanese looks a little different this week. I'm currently reading Japanese Folktales for language learners. I haven't finished another story yet, but I did read a few more pages. Maybe by the time the video goes online, I will have finished the next story. I also started reading the manga Yotsuba this week. The nice thing about Yotsuba is that it has furigana above every kanji, so even if I don't know every kanji yet, I can still read everything. The vocabulary is also mostly around the N5 and N4 level, which makes it much easier than my Folktales. I'm not completely sure yet if it might actually be a little too easy for me, but I only just started reading, so we will see how I feel about a few more chapters. One thing I've realized over the years is that reading doesn't always have to be about pushing yourself as hard as possible. Sometimes my goal is simply to spend time with the language, to get more exposure, to become more comfortable reading, and honestly, to finish another book in Japanese. For me, finishing a book is an achievement in itself. Whether that book is easy or difficult isn't the most important thing. If I enjoy reading it, I will probably finish it anyway. The goal isn't to read the hardest book I can find. The goal is to keep reading. That's also why I like having both books. If I feel like reading something a little more challenging, I can pick up the Folktales. And if I just want to relax and enjoy reading in Japanese, I can continue with Yotsuba. Having that choice makes it much easier for me to stay consistent. Over the next few days, I would like to finish 2 of my current prompts from my deck of language learning. I will link my latest deck of language learning video if you're curious how that series works. The first goal is finishing Un Mal Principio. A second is reading 5 stories from Japanese folktales for language learners. If I can finish both before my next deck of language learning update, that will be a nice bonus. One thing I noticed this week is how reading has become a habit for me. When I actually sit down with a book, I don't think about statistics at all. I simply start my timer, read, and enjoy the book. When I'm finished, I stop the timer and write down the last page I reached so I know exactly where to continue next time. Later, I add everything to my Google Sheet. I track how much time I spent reading and how many pages I finished. Not because I'm trying to hit a certain number every day. I'm simply curious. Over time, I can see how long it takes me to read 100 pages. And hopefully, as I become a more comfortable reader, I will slowly see the time go down. For me, that's much more interesting than counting every unknown word I encounter. So that's what I read this week in my languages. No huge breakthroughs, no dramatic success story, just another week of reading and spending time with my languages. I actually enjoy making this kind of video because it feels more like documenting my learning than trying to teach something. So let me know what you think. Would you like to see more videos like this in the future? And I'm also curious, what are you reading in your target language right now?